Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Paint with Sean. So today we are continuing on with our lone tree mountain scene. So we haven't put the tree in yet, so this is sort of our last piece. We've been calling this the lone tree painting, and there's no single tree. We've got a good variety of in-between trees here. So today we are continuing on right down through here with this snow-capped little hill that we have in the front here. Okay, so I put sort of a guideline here. I'm going to cover all of that up. So not a lot of none of this is really going to show. It's going to have a hilltop over the top here. And we're going to start with a sort of light pink. None of this is really pure white, even though it's sort of a brightish color. And we're going to add some highlights and lowlights and stuff, but we want to kind of get this middle-ish color here. So we're just going to take our fan brush today to cover some real estate and pull out a whole bunch of our white paint and put it over here on the side. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this white paint out over here and get a good amount of that. And then again, we just want to start with some red. And again, this is going to be very intense. So I may have to put some more white in this. And I want a tad bit of my blue color because I do want this to be sort of a purplish pink. Okay, so we're just going to put this in here and mix it up and see what color it comes out to be. So I just want to show you guys that made it super pink. Okay, so I'm going to get a big fat glob of white and put it over in here. And this is still going to stay super pink. So just a tad bit of the pink is, or the red, excuse me, is really all it takes to make that color. So I'm gonna throw some pure white over here on the edge and wipe off a lot of that color that I've already got on the brush. And I'm going to pull through this white a bunch of times. Okay, so I really want this to be a very lightish pink. Okay, so this is still kind of a bright pink here. So I'm going to grab even more white and just continue to tone this down until it really gets to be about the color I'm looking for. Okay. So again, a lot of this is just playing with color, see where you want it to be. And I've got, you know, kind of a lightish pink color here. And a lot of this is actually going to go away in the first place. We're gonna mix this up to be a bunch of different colors here. So, and then I'm going to tad bit of the blue. I want this a little more to the purpley side. So there we go. So we're kind of mixing this up a little bit and getting kind of the color that we think sort of represents what's there. Okay, so again, because we're going to go back over this so many times, it's not too dire that we get the exact color the first time. Okay, so we want to come up here at the top, and again, we're probably going to change a lot of this, but we're just going to lay out sort of where this hill lives. Okay, so we want to come up here, and this bad boy just swoops right on down in through here. And again, I'm going to need quite a bit of paint because I'm looking to cover. And this black color that I have on here is going to take quite a bit of paint to cover up. All right. So I'm just getting sort of a good pink color on here and cover up some of that blue we'd been working with before. Okay. So again, we're just recoating our brush here. Now down in here it gets a little bit more white, but again, I'm just going to adjust this as I go. Okay, so I'm going to get a nice solid coat of paint here. Sometimes it takes a couple different edge lines. And I'm just recoating my brush here. So when you start to run out of paint, the paint starts to break. Okay, so if you are looking for a breaking effect, then make sure you don't have a ton of paint. But if you want this to be a nice solid line, it really takes a good amount of paint. Okay, and I'm just kind of filling this in here, and we're going to come back and add some more paint and details and some things. Okay, so we've got to lift up our board here to get to the bottom. One of the downsides of these scoop bottomed little lips there. Got a piece on there. Okay, I'm just going to grab a little bit more paint here. Some more white, lighten that up as much as I can. Because again, you know, this is sort of a whitish pink sort of hill, all right? Again, I'll come through here, and a lot of this is also going to be covered up by rocks and some of this stuff that's over here. So we really only have the hill showing till about right here, and it's actually fairly white. Okay, so we'll have to come back over that, and I'm just putting in a little base color here, really. Okay, so we're just getting some coverage going on, showing us where our hillside lives, and then we'll come back and we're going to add all kinds of cool little colors in through here. Okay, so this really top line is all I'm concerned with. So I'm just keeping to this same color and getting a good amount of paint into my brush here to keep that real solid line going on. It's very important. Okay, so I'm gonna create that line, follow it up. My paint's drying out here pretty quick, so I'm just gonna touch the water. This allows us to actually get a little bit more of a solid line. So if you're using really thinner paint, it doesn't break very well. That thin paint really creates a nice solid streaming edge here, so you can see how that just one piece, boom, really creates that nice solid line for us. Okay, so you may have to work in different dryness and wetness levels just to get really the effect that you're looking for. Okay, so this wet paint, nice solid clean line in there. Really like how that looks. Okay, and don't worry if you got some stuff dripping and brush strokes showing and things down here. We're gonna come back in with some more paint here later and cover all that up anyway, so we don't need to worry too much about all that. Okay, all right, so we've got our pink in here. We're sort of dialed in, and again, we're gonna put a lot more over the top of this, so we're not too worried about the overall coverage. Okay, so we just wanted to dial in where that little pink mountain lived. All right, so let's put on our dark spots here. And again, this mountain isn't going to stay pink. It's just kind of a tone to work within. So I've got a lot of sort of darker blues, almost purpley looking colors. So I'm going to pull some blue over here and mix it in with this same pink color that I'm working with. Okay. And again, I want this to be a little bit dark. So I'm going to touch this black. And that does make it a little bit more gray. So if you're trying to go dark with black, it really can be kind of difficult sometimes. So don't be afraid if you've got to go back and forth a few times. And I also have a little bit darker blue that I'm working with in here too that really helps me stay in that blue tone, but to add the darkness that I'm really looking for here. So I'm just playing around with some color here and seeing what we can make up in our blue shade here, nice and dark. Touch the black and it got dark in a hurry. Turns to gray. Blue and black really makes a grayish color, so you really got to be careful when you're trying to add black into stuff. It doesn't keep the same color. Okay, it can really muddy the color. So just because you put black into something doesn't mean it's the same color and it's just darker. It really can make it actually just not the same color, more of a grayish tone. It muddies it down. So a lot of times you got to come back in that same little color, and yeah, we can play with that. Okay. So I've got some of this color here, and we're going to play in sort of the darkest areas first up here on the top of this hill. So it's sort of a purplish color, and right here towards the top we got a little swoop of this darkness. Okay, and I just want a little bit of that, and then that's sort of over too far. Okay, so let's put a little bit of that in there. And then under our second tree, we've sort of got a big swoop under here. Alright. Some of this sort of plays in through here. And again, we're just kind of lining out where some of this color may be. It's not going to be perfect, and we can blend it a little bit as we go. Alright. We've got some of that coming through. We get all the way up to the top in here. And we're pulling in our little grayish blue color here going on. Okay. And this does pick up that pink underneath. That's why we wanted to put that light color in there. Alright. And it just sort of drops off a little bit here. We'll come back and blend this here and there and have ourselves a little play through with this. But these colors are just suggestive. Again, we're not ever going to get to match perfectly what's in the picture. So if you're ever copying a picture, don't sweat it if it's not perfect. All right. So we've got our little areas. Oops. Don't touch the picture. Okay. So right down in here, we've got a little bit of that going on. Okay, I'm going to grab a little more color here. Make this a little more solid there. I just sort of got a little bit coming in through here. That's a little bit too dark, so let's just lighten it up with the finger. Okay. You can use all kinds of tools, guys. Paintbrush is not the only thing you got at your disposal, right? So we're gonna play that up, and this just sort of fades off into here, and we've got this nice light pink on the board, so we can sort of pull some colors and play with them a little bit. Okay. And again, part of this is also going to be covered up with a little bit of this rock situation going on. So we're just going to kind of play down in through here and let these break a little bit and get some of this nice blended color in here. Okay. So we're just putting sort of a bluish purple on in through here and getting a little bit of that back in here. And I've just got some on my finger here. So I'll just touch a little bit of that there. I don't want too much on my finger, but enough to change the color. Okay, so we're just pulling out some of that pure pink and working it back and forth into here. Okay, so we've got a little bit of color stroke going on there. We've got our good little set of color here, and this is a little bit more solid. Stripe in there, that looks good. Okay, so we're going to come back over the top of this with a lot of darker color anyway, so this is sort of this situation, and then I'm going to come down here And this one gets real dark real fast. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a good little stripe on into here. And it's going to come on in here. And the bottom of this is just going to be blended out a little bit. Okay. And because this paint is still wet, we can do these sort of things. Alright, once this dries, boy, this is not an effect we can get away with. Alright, so we want to make sure that we're working in the right stages. Give ourselves some darks and some lights, and this needs a little bit more paint in here. So I'm just using what's on my brush here. Okay. Cool. I like that. A little more down on this end here. There we go. And you can see how that just sort of breaks. You know, you just put a tiny little bit on there. It doesn't take a lot. And you can really just break that paint. Really give it that little sense of shadow and highlight. Okay, we don't want solid strokes too much on here. Once in a while we'll kind of lean into some of that sort of stuff, but for the most part what we're doing here is really giving it some nice light breakage. Okay, got that coming out. Solid line there, I like that one. And part of this is going to also be covered up with, we want this to come out just a little bit more. It's going to get covered up with a little bush thing going on here, so nothing too serious. Okay. And we can have some highlights and stuff come over the top of that. So this sort of comes up and plays to our little rock that's going to be here. So we'll give it some stuff going on, and this kind of plays to the edge. I don't want too much though, so we're going to wipe some of that off. There we go. That's going to have another little rock over the top kind of thing going on there. Alright. Oh, just put my whole hand in my brush. So we're having a good time. If you guys don't end up with paint on you, you're not really doing it. Every painting I do, I come out a different color. It's fun. Alright, so we're getting some of this over here. I like what we're working with. Now, I do like this little darker blue color here, so I'm just going to touch some of that and try to get a little more towards that color in some of this edge going on here, because this is really a pretty dark area in here. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Just a little bit of that. And we'll let some of that kind of break off over into here. And we'll just blend it a little bit with the brush. It doesn't have to be too much there. There we go. That looks good. So nice light touch there. And I'm missing some of that I'm looking for, so put a little more back on it. There we go. There we go. Nice light blend in here, and just let everything sort of blend to its own little degree. Alright, so we got some good stuff going on here. I like what we're working with. We've got our pink path, we've got some blues going on. We've got a little bit of yellowish pinks through in this really just having a good time with this stuff. So this one sort of needs to come in here as well. Have a little bit more of this blue color coming through here. I like it. I like what we're working with, guys. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. This is a fun little painting I've been doing for the last few episodes here that my buddy submitted to me. Local ski range here, and this lone tree is sort of a famous one around here, and so I told him I'd give it a shot to see if I could paint some things on there. So we'll see where this ends up coming out for us, but so far I think it's doing pretty good. So we've got some blues and some purples and things going on in here. Now again, we've kind of got a little bit more towards the pink side of things. Boy, this paint dries real fast. So I was going to get a little touch of red in here and kind of play it back towards the pink side a little bit. So we've got a lot of blue going on in here. I do want to add some more white and some pink kind of color going on. So I'm not going to be able to do that with the same brush. This is just going to make everything sort of real muddy in there. So we just want to get all of our little blue areas added in. Got a little bit going on down here, and just kind of streaking some of this in here. And I'm liking the blend that's coming out with the finger, so we'll let that kind of play in there a little bit. So we've got all the way over into here, we've got some color. Okay, so I just want to bring that color in, and our pink underneath is drying real good for us. So we've got sort of everything coming into here that we need with our blue color. Okay, so let's go ahead and wash our brush here, and again I just scrub it against the side of my little cup of water. Acrylic paint is real nice like that, where you don't have to use any kind of cleaners or anything too crazy. It makes it pretty easy to really clean these brushes with just some water. Okay, so I get it out here, and we're just gonna mop it off on our paper towel and see that we get all the color out of there. Looks like I got a little bit back in there, but that's all right. Okay. So we want to put a little bit of, some yellowish white going on in here, and so I'm gonna pour a little bit more of my white over here. Excuse me. Okay, and I'm just gonna take my my little script liner brush and pull out some white. So this doesn't do a super good job of mixing, but it does a great job of painting. So we're gonna pull a little bit of white, a little bit of touch of our yellow in there, just to spice it up a little bit. Okay, and we want to give some of these little highlighted areas down in here. Okay, so I'm going to come in here with some of this more yellowy type white and just sort of paint this back. Okay, and blend it a little bit as I go. Alright. So we're just going to start to lighten this up a little bit. It may take a few sort of coats to get this to the stage that we want. Okay, because we are going over some darker colors, so a lot of times this can cause you to have to go a couple of times. Okay, so I'm just going to keep playing in my color here. I've got this little light yellowy white. Okay, And where those brightest colors are is where we want it the lightest color. So it's very important that you pay attention to those real light and dark areas. Okay, if it's really a nice bright color, it needs to be light when you put it on there. So we're just going to kind of fade this color out into not much going on. So you can see we're starting to put a little yellow on here, and we'll continue doing this through the whole rest of our painting here. I'm just going to put it out on the edge so I can reach it a little better. Okay. And again, just a tad bit of this yellow in here. We really don't want it to be too bright of a yellow. Mostly white. Okay, and the same yellow sort of playing down in through here, and we're getting this over to this edge that's going to sort of cut off for us. So as long as we're over here a little bit with our color, I think we're going to get the coverage we need. Okay, so I'm just sort of wiping some of this off over here, lightening this color up. Actually, that sort of has a break all the way. Oh, there's a little piece right there, so I don't need that. Perfect. Sorry, I talk to myself a lot doing this along with you guys, so appreciate you hanging out with me today. We're having a good time and just getting some real good colors going on in here. So we've got our little light yellowy color going on, and this one really rides the edge of that. Okay. It comes up here, and it's a pretty solid line. Okay. We're going to let that run real solid up in there and sort of play off over into this pink color. Okay. So we've got a real good solid line kind of color going on over here into our yellowy white. And these are where we really make those distinctions, guys, is adding these little pieces here and there and going back and forth and playing through and really creating some distinctions. Okay, so I'm going to pull some more yellow, just keep mixing up more of this color as I go. I don't need a ton of it. I do want it to stay very light, but I want that little yellow tinge to it. Okay, very important for me on this. Okay, there we go. And the finger is like a perfect blending tool for a lot of these areas. Alright, we're going to have a little bit coming down in here. Got our little jump up here underneath the tree, so I'm going to bring some of this yellow out a little bit. Okay. We're going to have to get up in here a little bit crazy. We're going to make a few little edges for ourselves. Okay. And just sort of blend these out. And we got one that sort of comes and connects into over here and blends out in through there. Okay. So just adding little bits of color and blending and getting some cool little effects going on in here like it. And we can come back in again if we need to and throw in some more coloration and little pieces here and there. And that one dried on me a little faster than I wanted, but that's okay. Oh, so that was supposed to be on the top. Okay, so that's not what I want. So this is to here. And there is one that comes sort of over the top of it. Okay. And I'm just still playing in that same little yellow we were working on earlier, guys. Alright. It's coming along. So again, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Really having a good time with this today, and getting us some nice little areas of light and dark, and our shadows on our hills, and a lot of good little contrast going on here. So this one's just gonna sort of come up a little dip right there, and it kind of drops off up here. Okay. Alright, so if you guys are painting anything, I would love to see that. Once in a while I have someone send me one, but I'd love to see some more of your work. So if you guys are out here following along with what I'm doing, boy, I'd love to see your version of this painting. And if you're not, that's okay. If you're painting something of your own, I'd still like to see that too. These are things that really I appreciate, and I love seeing what people come out of some of these things with their own versions, and really gets me excited to see if you're following along with what I got as well. That's always been kind of the biggest compliment, is when someone else paints your painting and comes out to be something good. So we're gonna continue adding some of these little highlights and lowlights within our little I don't know, hill crest or whatever you want to call it here. It's a little mountain range in front of our blue one. We've got our nice light pink coming in through, and some of this is actually going to come down to a much more white scale versus the pink. Okay, so let's pull some white over here and see if we can lighten this up in our little pink color a little bit here. We're just going to go for a real light color pink. Okay, and again we sort of lose our hill about right here in the picture. So I'm just going to keep grabbing some white and pulling it into my pink color, so it's not a pure white. I don't want it to be ultra bright. We want it to be just a little bit of white compared to the pink. Okay, so we're going to blend some of that in. We've got our white coming through in here now. You can see how that instantly brightens it. Gives it that real nice light sheen on the edge of our mountaintop there. Okay. And this one, I just want to put a little bit of a highlight edge. Just a little brighter than the yellow. That'll really pop where we're at. Okay, looking good. Got a real bright area right here. So if you want to brighten it, you can just touch the white, okay, and come right to that little area that you're trying to brighten up, and make it a real highlighted area. Okay, looking good. So right over in here we've got a little bit more of a bluish white. So I'm going to touch the blue, come into my white here. Just a tinge of color to it. I don't really want it to be too blue, but just a little bit. Alright, so coming in through here, have just a little bit coming down through it. And then Let's see if we can get that blue to show up. I need a little more blue in there. There we go. There we go. But sometimes half the fun is just when you mix the right color finally. Such a challenge. Okay. So we're going to have a little bit right here. That white isn't showing up like I want it to, so let's make that a little lighter. Okay, there we go. Just don't have enough paint on the brush or something. It doesn't want to show up for me. There we go. There we go. Okay. Just lighten that up a little bit here. I'm running into my brushes and my thing. So this is not white at all up here, or pink at all. This one needs to be a lot more white. And a little more bluish. Okay. There we go. Looking good. I'm getting that blue color in there. A little less pink. Not everything was blue. Okay, there we go. And we do have a good little dark area in here. So not everything is this lightish color as well. So we might come back with a little bit more of that darker blue color we were working with before. I'm just going to grab some water. Come back to that same color I was working with. I don't have to mix it up again. Okay. There's a good little streak right in here. Like that. Okay. Just kind of even that out. A little bit more on the edge. Got a little bit of blended color going on. Okay, so when you sort of run out of color, it gets a little bit easier actually to blend some of these when you put it on in a real strong mix. Ooh. If it's real solid, sometimes it's tough to blend it. But when it gets thin and you don't have much on there, you can play with the colors a little bit. Okay, so I really want this to be solid. There we go. So I'm going to play back and forth just a little bit, get some coloration going on, and we got some of this. Needs to be a little darker. Okay, so again, guys, we're just sort of playing back and forth and adjusting our colors as we go, and adding some highlights and some lowlights. And we started with our good pink base, and now we've got some of our other whites and yellows and some of these things working back and forth. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for today. I'm going to continue working on some of the details in the highlights and low light colorations, and getting this to be a little bit closer to what we're looking for with how this plays out compared to the picture. But we are going to continue in our next episode with adding some of the foreground pieces in here that include the rocks and some of these other little rock pieces and the bushes and some of the detail pieces, and then our final structure will end with our lone mountain tree. So again, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.